Welcome to the Daily Deuce. I'm Gary Graves from just outside sunny, warm Louisville, Kentucky, and in Maryland, the land of pleasant living, home of the Baltimore Orioles, my longtime friend and esteemed colleague, John Webster. John, how are you doing this wonderful fall day?
Gary, I'm doing real good, man. It's another great day, another great week in sports. This is a great time of the year. You got football, pro football, college football. You got Major League Baseball playoffs. You got start of hockey season. NBA is right around the corner. The WNBA is heading to their championship round. Man, I'm happy, man. I'm happy as a pig in slop in Salisbury, man. This is a beautiful time of the year. Absolutely beautiful. Before we get going, need to say hey to our main man. He's still on the mend and doing very well with his recovery. John Pitt, man, take care of yourself. We're always thinking about you. We want to see you back here real soon, my friend. Hello to you and take care.
Well, John, it was an interesting weekend, especially with the local football teams. I'm going to let you talk about the Commanders because you saw more of that game than I did. My observation from a distance is that you called it a trap game, and you were right. It was a trap almost from the first snap. And how did it happen to a team like Atlanta?
Well, it was a rough game. Atlanta, was really upset. They played not a really great game the week before and got shut out by the Carolina Panthers 30-0. I
Hmm.
think for the Commanders, the defense was a telltale sign. They could never stop the Atlanta Falcons. They couldn't stop them on the ground. They couldn't stop them in the air. I also think that the Atlanta Falcons pinpointed Marshawn Lattimore, went at him quite a bit. Um, it was a rough game all the way around. Mariota had a decent game, but you couldn't get any consistency or traction on the offense. A little bit more in the second half than they had in the first half. But what it came down to, Gary, when the defense needed to make a stop, they couldn't make a stop. B. John Robinson, he may still be running for a touchdown for all we know, man. He had a really great game. Drake London caught many passes from Michael Penix. Tip your hat off to the Atlanta Falcons, man. They came out there and they wanted it more than the Commanders, and they went and they got it. It's like I said to you before, and I said it a few times to you. A lot of people look at this schedule that the Commanders have and they think 12-5, 13-4. And I keep saying the same thing over and over again. This Commanders team could be better, but have a worse record. The schedule they have this year is not a joke. The schedule they have this year, they are not going to catch anybody by surprise. When you are put on national TV as many times as they are, teams are looking forward to playing them. And you got to come with your best. And right now, also with the Commanders, you're starting to have some injuries sneak up on them. Terry McLaurin didn't play the last game. Jaden Daniels didn't play the last game. I think Daniels will be back. I'm not sure when McLaurin will be back with, I think it's a hamstring or a quad. I'm not sure which one it is, but he may be out again this week. So it's tough, man. They have a good team, but there's some improvements that need to happen on that defense. I was reading a statistic where they blitz 28% of the time. And I think when you have challenges like they do in the secondary, I think you need to create some different ways to get to the quarterback because your defensive secondary, like Sanders still, he's playing a new position this year. I think last year he played the slot corner, now he's playing outside or vice versa. It's going to take him time to catch on to a new position, man. I mean, uh, even though it's a cornerback, it's a different position on cornerback that he's playing. So we'll see. And the other thing, like I started to say, you have to dial up some blitzes, in my opinion. If you can't sustain a rush, or if your defensive backs cannot stay with the receivers, you got to come up with another way to get that quarterback.
Mhm. How much, well, I'm not gonna say how much blame, but the defensive coordinator, who's been under fire from the beginning, is he on a short leash, or do they still feel committed to what he's trying to do? Does he just need to do anything different?
I, I'm not, as you know, Gary, I'm not an advocate for terminating anybody, and I'm definitely not an advocate of terminating during the season, because there's only so much more improvement you can do during the season, because the fundamentals and the training and the education happen in the off season and training camp. To ask your question, is he possibly on a hot seat? Oh yeah, he probably is. But at this point, what do you go and get? Who do you go and get to replace him? I don't know. Maybe Dan Quinn starts calling the plays. I don't know.
Mhm.
Um, but also, and I've always said this, the easiest person to fire is a coach or a manager. You can't fire a whole team. And he can call the plays, but then you still have to execute them. And if you're not executing them, I mean, then the coach is the one that looks with the egg on his face, because, like I said, you can't fire the whole team. I hope nobody gets fired. I hope they can work it out. But yeah, he's on a hot seat, Gary.
Yeah. Um, I'm trying to think. Yeah, you're right. Like firing any head coach or assistant coach in season seems like a panic move. I think I'm trying to remember where that happened though. Maybe it was Houston or something where they fired their receivers coach. I might be wrong, but yeah, something obviously has to give because yeah, I mean they made some moves in the offseason that they thought would help, and from what I can see, I was looking at the passing defensive stats. They rank in the middle. I don't know if that's good or bad given what happened on Sunday.
Well, they've had 4 games. You had a game against the New York Giants, and the Giants are a work in progress. Then you played Green Bay, and I won't, well, I'll say you got exposed. Then you played the Raiders, and you beat up on the Raiders. Now you play the Atlanta Falcons, and the Atlanta Falcons really beat up on you. So I think the jury is still out on which team you see. But also, I'll say it again, Gary. Whenever anybody sees the Commanders on their schedule right now, they can't wait to play them. They're not sneaking up on anybody. They're not anybody's homecoming game this year, Gary. Everybody wants to play them. Everybody wants to see them. So that means you got to come out ready to play each and every week. I'm not saying they aren't ready to play. I'm not questioning their effort. But what I will say is the execution has to improve.
Okay. Now, when we talked about this earlier, well, before the season, and we were picking games, I can't remember exactly how I picked this first month of the schedule, but at this point, and especially given some of the injuries that they had, and including the Jaden Daniels, I'm just going to say it like this: 2-2 is not a bad place to be, as opposed to say 1-3 or 0-4. Um, But you're right.
I,
The execution has to improve because um, I think again, you called that a trap game. I agreed with you. That's one of those games. Looking at the schedule and your prediction also that they would be a better team with a worse record. I think that's probably going to bear out at some point. But losing to Atlanta in Atlanta does not make me feel good right now heading into a game against the Los Angeles Chargers.
John Hader will be proud of you, Gary.
Hey, well,
But you know what I will say. I'm looking at the Commander's schedule. Next 4 games they go to L.A. to play the Chargers. Then they come home to play the Bears. Then they go to Dallas, and then they go to Kansas City. So right now you're 2-2, not a bad start, So you see where you can go from there. If you get another 2-2, that puts you at 4-4 after 8 games, and then the rest of the season you got Seattle, Detroit, Miami, Denver, Minnesota, the Giants, Philadelphia, Dallas, and Philadelphia. So I mean, yeah.
Mhm.
I think if you, I don't know, Gary. I'm looking right now. The Chargers game. That's going to be a rough game. You're catching a Chargers team where it may be good for your defense because their line is beat up, but it may not be good for your team because they lost to the Giants. And Coach Kaki is going to be hard on them Chargers this week, and they're going to be ready to play some football. So we just got to see what's going to happen. But if they end up 2-2 in these games, say if they well, maybe they beat the Chargers, they beat Chicago, lose to Dallas, and lose to Kansas City. That makes them 4-4. This is what I think nobody really wants to see. Um, they lose to the Chargers, they beat the Bears, and they lose to Dallas, and then they lose to Kansas City. That's 1-3, and then at 1-3, what does that become? That becomes 1-3, 2-2.
But
That becomes 3-5. Yeah, yeah. They need to at least go 2-2 again. And
yeah,
the Eagles are playing well. They're undefeated. I'm not going to say they're beating the brakes off everybody, but they're playing well enough to win games. Right now, they're 2 games behind the Eagles, and you don't want to fall 3 games behind or 4 games behind. So you want to keep them within distance and then go from there.
yeah. Well, I'll say this about the Eagles. Um, 4-0 suggests, and they haven't played their best ball. And other discussions we've had, when you look at the Eagles, offensively, they don't look like a powerhouse like last year, but that's misleading. They're still a strong team as long as they have Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, there's AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. I mean, you're talking about a fearsome foursome right there. The thing about the Eagles that scares me right now is that I saw a stat that said that they were only accounting for maybe 20% or something of the offense, or maybe it was 20% of the scoring. I can't remember which one it was, but when you look at that, and the fact that they're 4-0 and they haven't played their best ball yet, it's a very scary prospect for their opponents because again,
Mm-hmm.
as the season goes on, they find their stride. This first month for them is almost like training camp in terms of getting used to each other, and they've won all 4 games, and they've gone into some tough environments to win games. I mean, winning that game in
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City convinced me that that they're not afraid of Kansas City anymore, much like they weren't in the Super Bowl in January.
Mm-hmm. Well, Philadelphia's a tough team. As I've said before, and I'll say it again, they're one of the best teams in the NFL, if not the best team in the NFL right now. They got a great quarterback. They have a great defense. They have great everything, man. Special teams as well. So you got to come ready to play hard, tie up your chin strap, and bring a lunch pail because you're gonna have to beat them. They're not gonna go away. They're not gonna lay down. You're gonna have to beat them. As the Los Angeles Rams found out, you have to beat them.
Yeah. Now the Dallas Cowboys, um, that game against Green Bay Sunday night, it was a 40-40 tie. And if I was a gambling man, I would have taken the over regardless, but I wouldn't have guessed 80 points, 80 combined points. In terms of their records, a tie may or may not help them when it comes to playoff seeding. We'll start talking about that in another month or so. But the way I look at it from a Green Bay Packers standpoint, I look at it as a win considering the back and forth nature of it. And if I'm Dallas, considering they could have easily lost, but
Mm,
held up and settled for a tie. And because of a certain ex-Cowboy that named Micah Parsons that stopped a certain Cowboys quarterback short of running for a go-ahead touchdown. That would have been an L for Green Bay. And again, both of them are fortunate more than anything not to come out of this with a loss. A draw, a tie, a toss up, or whatever, a push. It doesn't do anything for the bettors, doesn't do anything for their records. But I think in terms of just feeling better about some things, I think both Dallas and Green Bay, but especially Dallas, has good to feel, something good to feel because Dak Prescott again had just had another great game, another game that um, reminded me of him early in his career. And Dallas, if you're a Cowboys fan, there's a lot to feel good about, going forward. I think they face kind of the same schedule as the rest of the NFC East. I know we've talked about Philly facing, their own murderer's row of a schedule as champions, but the Dallas Cowboys really are showing me something. And when Washington goes down there, they look, like you said, they better buckle up their chin straps because that team is not rebuilding. They've moved on clearly from Micah Parsons. Their defense, yes, they gave up 40 points, but that defense is still, Jerry is almost looking right with that trade in terms of where their defensive strengths lie with the run game, sometimes with their passing game. So you got to love where the division is right now. It's pretty wide open.
We'll see. Now, Gary, it's an interesting stat going on with Dallas. Their offense is either third or fourth ranked in the NFL, and their defense is 32nd. Um, I think that the run game has improved, but they're struggling in the secondary. Um, you got Bland back there, you got Diggs back there, and I can't even remember who the safeties are, but they're having some the struggles there. I don't want to say they miss Michael Parsons. I'll just say they long for Michael Parsons. I'll say it like that.
Yeah.
It's definitely this may be something you and I talked about before. In the short run, it may not work out for Dallas, but in the long run, it may. But right now, they are struggling to find a pass rush, Gary. They're struggling there, and they're struggling on being able to cover these wide receivers and these running backs and tight ends. So we'll see how it goes. But their offense is explosive, and they're explosive even without CD Lamb. Think what they're going to be like when CD Lamb comes back from that sprained ankle. So
Yeah. Well, since you mentioned offense, um, just up the Parkway in Baltimore, there are a lot of questions about the Ravens. Lamar Jackson is hurt. He has a hamstring injury. We don't know how long he's going to be out, but we know from experience with hamstring injuries is that they're very, very touchy. And yes, they can heal, but then just as quickly they can return and hamper a guy. And for a player, a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, who relies on his legs as much as his arm, it's a concern. Derrick Henry, same thing. Not injured, but not Derrick Henry because of the fumbles which have led to I'll say a crisis of confidence with him and a crisis of confidence in him by the team. You had mentioned to me about only 8 carries on Sunday, which that I'm still trying to get my mind around that because we're talking about Derrick Henry, the bruiser, the Mack truck coming at you day or night. It's going to hurt when he hits you. But he's thinking about it, and he's thinking about carrying the ball behind the fumbles. And that's the worst thing you can do, even if you're Derrick Henry with those humongous arms and just that center of gravity. If if he's questioning how he carries the ball or whether he can fumble or not, that's not good, and teams are going to seize on that. Um, I don't know how you work around that other than say you have to change your technique. I think I said that last week. But if you're Baltimore, you have to figure out some way to get somebody else to pick up the slack. I'm not talking about the backup quarterback because that's not the concern. I mean, my concern really get Lamar Jackson healthy, however long it takes. It's not, it's a week to week injury from what I've read. So if he feels good enough to go, then I'd say, yeah, let him go. But again, you have to tweak this offense around the injury, and you have to tweak it so they won't necessarily zero in on Derrick Henry, but you got to have somebody step up in the backfield besides him, to maybe pick up the slack, allow him to see things develop and figure out another way. Maybe include him in the passing game coming out of the backfield.
Well, Ravens had some problems all the way around. I think Gary.
Oh yeah,
The
defense. I
defense
think
had
they
some injuries. Um, Now you have Lamar Jackson out with a hamstring. Derrick Henry is struggling, trying to make sure he's not fumbling. So I don't think he's running with the same oomph that he normally runs with. I also have another take on this thing. I think Lamar Jackson, in some of these instances, may be holding the ball too long in the pocket. I think he is to the point where his passing is he's one of the best passers in the league, without a doubt. But I think sometimes he needs to turn on those superpowers of his when he runs, because right now there's some times where he's holding the ball. The blockers can only hold their block for so long, and before it either becomes a holding penalty or the defensive player gets in and makes a sack. I think if he doesn't see anything, I think he needs to maybe take off a few more times. I know as you get older, you don't want to do that as much as you used to. You want to stay in the pocket, and I get that. But I think he has a great asset that I think it needs to be used sometimes, especially right now, because like they just need a spark. They lost another defensive player for the season. Was it Matabuke on the line? So he's out for the year. He's got a neck injury. Now he was really good at plugging that middle up. Uh, Kyle Van Noy has not played this year. He's still having hamstring issues, and he had 16 sacks last year. They just got Isaiah Likely back. Uh, it's so
no
many things right
and
now,
no
and
telling when Zaire Alexander's going to play.
yeah. Well, look on a milk carton. He's probably missing. So just see what's going on. I just don't get that one, Gary. I don't get it at all.
Well, he okay.
Hope.
His experience, I'll say it like that. I'll say it like this. When he's healthy, he's one of the best cover guys in the league, much like he was in college. But he gets hurt, and he gets hurt a lot, and that doesn't help your team. It didn't help Louisville when he was here. They found other guys to step up, and it didn't help him in Green Bay, where he did thrive. He became a Pro Bowl caliber cornerback, but then he goes and misses significant stretches of the past two seasons, and we're a quarter of the way in now, and he hasn't seen the field yet. That doesn't make me feel good for a porous defense.
Yeah, I hope to see the guy play. You know, I'm not saying he doesn't have an injury. That's not my point. It's very disappointing not to see him out there, because he is a very good cornerback. He does a great job of covering receivers. So I hope it works out, man. Hopefully it works out sooner rather than later, because they definitely need help in the secondary. Definitely need help. So, but man, I'm going to ask you how you feel about some of these games. I want you to pick them, even though the Major League Baseball has started. I'm going to ask you what your thoughts are and who you're going to pick, and then I'm going to let you close out. So
Okay.
you got 4 games going on. Even though a couple of them have already started, just still tell me who you think will win. Cubs, Padres,
I like the Cubs in the series, but I like the Padres to win game two.
Dodgers, Reds,
I like the Dodgers in a sweep. Yeah, they're the Dodgers. The Reds backed into the playoffs, and again, the Dodgers are on a mission as well.
Yankees, Red Sox.
I picked the Yankees in game one. Of course, I have to stick with that since it's ongoing. But seeing that stat that the Red Sox have won three out of the last five playoff series, I'm going to go out on a limb and pick the Red Sox to win the series.
Cleveland, Detroit.
Cleveland botched an opportunity in the ninth inning. I had picked them to win that game. The pitching was just awesome. Um, I
Mhm.
still like the Guardians because it was great for the Tigers to rally behind their ace, a multiple
Mhm.
Cy Young Award winner. But you got to get something from the rest of that rotation, and two more games, possibly two more games on the road. I don't know. I don't know if they can do that. Again, you can rally behind your ace, but now you got to rally behind your second and third starter.
All right. WNBA has a big game 5 coming up. You going with the Aces or you going with the Fever?
I'm going with the Aces because one, they're playing at home, and I think that last game was kind of a wake-up call. They're playing around with a team that's playing like they have nothing to lose, and they've done it without probably the league's biggest star, Caitlin Clark. She's missed more games than she's played, but they've considered winning. And what I said about the Aces, excuse me, about the Fever earlier this season is that even without her, they were building to be a playoff team. She's probably the missing piece, but for them to get this far without her bodes well, I think, in their immediate future. But I still like the Aces because Asia Wilson is still Asia Wilson.
Go ahead and close us out, Gary.
All right, so we mentioned WNBA. Of course, October baseball, there's nothing like it. And even though our local teams aren't in it, there's plenty to watch there. College football, we didn't really get into that, but again, teams in the SEC, and the Power Four conferences are moving deeper into their conference schedules, so that's going to be fun to watch. The NHL is in its exhibition season. That starts pretty soon, so you can watch that. So watch all those games, but then come back and watch us talk about it. We can send you a link via email. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're pretty much anywhere you want to find us. So come on back.
Hey, thanks for joining us again. Another great week in sports. Always love sitting around and talking with you, Gary.
Same here.
Everybody, watch some NFL football, watch some college football. If you can, go watch some Canadian Football League. We'll
That's
watch
right.
some soccer. Go watch the Major League Baseball playoffs. Go watch the WNBA championship. But above all else, just watch some sports. We'll see you again real soon. Take care.